farmers, and welcome to another episode of the harvest season. My name is Al.
And my name is Jonnie, and we're going back to back. Back to back, Al.
Oh yeah, woo! We're here to talk about cottagecore games. Woo!
Woo! No spookiness this time. I actually got through the intro without laughing.
I think we've done that. So we've done back to back. I think did me and Kevin do back to back? No, Kevin did back to back, but not me, because Kevin did his solo one. In fact, Kevin did 3 in a row. Look at that.
Madman.
Yes, we're recording. We're going to talk about, Jonnie and me have both done a demo from the, what do they call it? Next Fest. Steam Next Fest, October 2024. It's a thing they do every so often where they get a bunch of games to release demos. So we have each played a demo from a game that we have talked about previously on the podcast, and we're going to talk about them to each other. Before that, we have, obviously, lots of news. We also then have a new segment, which I will get to. But first of all, Jonnie, what have you been up to?
I have been up to pretty much the same thing that everyone has been up to this week, I assume, and that's Pokemon Pocket.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a good game.
I definitely had that on my list.
I am like a big card gamer, TCGer in general, not the Pokemon one, because that game's really bad. But, I played Magic the Gathering, I played Hearthstone, Marvel Snap, and now Pokemon Pocket. And my biggest concern coming into the game is that the actual gameplay wouldn't be that good. It's definitely better than I expected. It's probably not amazing, like it's not as good as any of those other games that I mentioned, but it is a lot stronger than I thought it was going to be. And the thing I am maybe enjoying the most is the fact that there isn't a ladder, and I just find myself playing games because I enjoy playing the games, and it's really nice to not have the pressure of I need to play games so I can hit double, triple platinum and unlock, X of this new currency and do all of these other things. I'm really enjoying that the reason to log in on a consistent basis is to open a pack and to get new cards. And I just play the game when I want to play the game. It sounds really sad that is, in fact, a nice feature to have in a game.
Interesting.
Other than that, I've been really enjoying just opening the packs and seeing the cards. I don't really care that much about getting a full collection. I just care about collecting the good cards that I want to play a deck with. But last night I did a 10 pull on the Charizard pack, and I got 2 of the Charizard immersive cards. And let me tell you, those immersive cards are really, really cool. They, the level of detail that has gone into the artwork for those is pretty crazy, and I think those cards are really cool. Tell why
there's only 3 of them.
Yes. Yeah, and so it's really cool to have 2 of those. So now I'm desperately pulling on the Charizard pack to try and get the rest of the cards I would like to flesh out my Charizard deck, because I'm in the fun position where I have 2 of the immersive Charizards, but I only have 1 Charmeleon.
Fair enough. I feel like we're playing Pocket completely differently, because I don't care about the battles. I don't find the battles particularly fun, and I just want to complete my collection.
Interesting. Have you done the solo battles?
I have, yeah. Yeah, I've not finished all of them. I've done... Is it 4? Are there 4 sets of them? Is that...
Yeah, there's 4 tiers of solo battles.
I think I'm halfway through the 3rd tier. Yeah, I'm almost exactly. I'm 3 out of 7 in the 3rd tier, and I've completed the 1st and 2nd tier. So what I would say is they're fine. I don't dislike the battles. I like the changes they've made. I like the changes they've made to the game. I think it does make it better. The smaller decks, the energies being separate. I like those things about it. I kind of wish they'd done more to make it more different. Part of the problem, I think, is that there are only a few decks that are good enough to be able to, actually win.
So I do not think that is the case at all.
Okay. we can come back to that in a minute. I granted I haven't put as much time into it as you, so you might be fair. However, I think part of the problem is there are too many cards for me to be able to feel comfortable doing the battling. If we compare it to Marvel Snap, which in most cases I think is bad how people are comparing it to Marvel Snap, but the one thing I would say I do compare them in is that with Marvel Snap, obviously there are only a few strategies that work. However, the number of total cards is much smaller, so that when you're getting a card, you're quite likely for it to be useful to you. Whereas there are over 200 cards already in Pocket with just the first set. And so I feel like most cards that I get are useless, and I'm never going to use them for anything, for battling.
Yeah, there are definitely I don't disagree, I think, with anything you said other than, the number of cards that are useful. But I think that there is too much filler stuff that's just there to make up cards when you open packs, and they're just never close enough to even being useful in a deck. And I do wish that there was maybe slightly more changes from the TCG. I don't really like how much coin flipping there is in the game, but it also seems necessary based on the way the game is designed, because you need that sort of coin flipping to enable certain strategy. You need that element of randomness, because there aren't many elements of randomness in the way the game plays out otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Do you need
randomness? The way the way Pocket and a TCG is designed, I feel like you do. So, and one of the reasons I say that, I've been playing a lot of Marowak EX deck, and Marowak EX does 80 damage, or you flip 2 coins and it deals 80 damage for each hits. It's a very aggressive deck, and it's the sort of deck that couldn't exist the way the rest of the game is designed without the element of randomness that is introduced by flipping coins. You would basically have to depower Marowak to, you could have Marowak as just a, 2 energy, 80 damage first stage card, which would be fine. But one of the reasons the deck actually works is if you fall a little bit behind as more powerful decks sort of ramp up and get going with their thing, you can still just randomly spike 2 hits and knock out an EX and still win the match. So it gives the deck a lot more play. Otherwise, it'd just be a lot of situations where it's I just instantly lose here. There's no possible way for me to win. And that's where I think that that element of randomness is an important element for the way the the game is currently designed. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean it's good design. It doesn't mean I like it. I totally agree. I wish they had done more to change it, to find a different way to introduce that randomness. But I see why it is necessary.
Yeah, I guess the thing is, right, there already is randomness in a TCG because you have your deck and you're drawing cards from it. So you're never going to get everything you want.
Yeah, Pocket has a lot less of that than most other TCGs. Decks are relatively consistent, I find. And the other aspect is that
if you build your deck well.
Yeah, but pretty much every deck has 2 Professor's Research, 2 Pokeball. The consistency is pretty high within Pocket. But the big difference is actually the way the game plays out. Once your Pokemon are on the board, the game becomes very deterministic. It's almost more chess-like than it is other TCGs, and it's about how you're then maneuvering the pieces on the board in order to win. And so you do need some on-board randomness with the way the game plays out in order for it to remain interesting. Otherwise, you would just have a lot of board states where it's oh yeah, we've seen this before and this player wins or that player wins.
You're not convincing me to enjoy the battles.
My intent was not to convince you to enjoy the battles. They are I don't think they will be universally appealing from a competitive way in the way that something like Marvel Snap is, because it's
Mm-hmm.
a lot more straightforward. I think the way the TCG is designed, and this is my experience from playing, where like at the moment I would say I'm winning quite a lot because people simply don't understand how to effectively use their board in order to win, and you just get tons of free knockouts because people don't understand how to retreat, what to put in the front, what to make their active Pokemon, when to sacrifice something. Like, people are
Yeah,
very bad.
that presumably there's no skill-based matching, right? So like, because there's no ladder, you're not going to end up in that situation where you're mostly battling people who are on a similar level to you. So, that's, I guess, the disadvantage of that, because the disadvantage for other people, not for you. The advantage
Yes.
for you, the disadvantage to new people,
Yeah.
is that you just end up getting thrown into battles with people who are good straight away.
Yeah. Yeah. I would like a form of competitive that isn't a ladder. If it was try and win 5 games without losing against other people that are also trying to do the same thing, or like something like that, I think would be quite appealing.
I suspect they're doing. I would be very, because they've obviously not got something just now, and I don't think that's purely development time based, right? Like both this and the trading, I don't think they're not in the game because they didn't have enough time to do it. I think they're both deliberate choices to get people to focus on what they want to focus initially. Because if they had trading straight away, people would people who poured in gold would just immediately get everything because they'd have enough other things to trade for what they're missing, and I suspect they don't want people to just immediately do that. And with the ladder, I think they're trying to think up some new, better ways of doing competitive than just a ladder. Like, I think if they were just doing a ladder, they would have just put it in, because that's not a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I'm really I believe that they're watching to see like how are people enjoying the battles, what are they playing, how much are they playing, all those sorts of things, so they can make a really intentional decision around whatever they choose to implement from a more ranked form of play within the game. The last point I'll make on Poco, we could move on, is just I think the state of the game at the moment is a lot of people are attracted to the EX decks. In particular, you see a lot of Pikachu EX and Mewtwo EX as kind of the decks that everyone, I think, is default assumed are sort of the best decks. They are the most linear, like they are very linear, they have low randomness, and they are very powerful. I think there are a range of strategies that have not been fully explored yet that are very good. Like I've had very good success with my aggressive Marowak EX. So it's Marowak EX and Sandslash are kind of the two main Pokemon. It's just very aggressive. It really punishes, like the bad draws for those decks can even beat their good draws. I think there's a lot of non-EX Pokemon that are also very good, and I think there's a lot of like decks that just don't use EXs that haven't been properly explored. One of the reasons I've been pulling on Charizard is I want to get the Greninja line. I think there's I'm really interested in like a Greninja Dragonite deck, some of those sorts of things. So I think a lot more of the cards are playable than you currently see if you play the game. Or the other deck you see a ton of is like this Articuno deck that's just horrendous. You try and use Misty to like spike doing something powerful in turn one. Even when they get it, like I just don't think it's very good. There's just other Pokemon that do more with more consistency. So
All I see is people complaining about not getting any heads on Misty.
yeah, like
Maybe you should be doing something else then.
correct.
I do think that this is probably just one of those things where you're going to end up, like, it's only been out, for people who weren't pretending to be in New Zealand, it's only been out for a few days, right? Less than a week. I think you're just going to see a lot of people realizing different things over the next few weeks and thinking up new strategies, right? Like, that's just part of how it goes.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think at this point, I'm not against the idea of trying to get more interested in the battles. I've not had a huge, like, you can tell by the fact that I've not really done all of the solos yet, and I was pretending to be in New Zealand, so I've been playing it for a month and I'm still not finished all of them, right? Like that, I've just not been particularly interested in that, and I'm just enjoying collecting cards.
Meanwhile, I've done all of the solo battles and all of the challenges other than the challenges on the final phase, because they are quite difficult challenges that I will need to work towards doing.
Yeah, I'll get there, right? And maybe I'll enjoy them by the end. I don't know, but I think I'm just exhausted with the idea of trying to figure out a deck is part of the problem, and yeah.
I'll send you some decks, because I got through pretty much all of the solo battles with the auto battle mechanic.
What? I can't imagine wanting to use that, because surely you want to battle because you want to battle.
But so I like battling other people, right? Like, for me, I kind of just enjoy the challenge of, like, can I build a deck that's good enough to get through these solo battles without me having to play? And, like, occasionally I'll look over and see what the auto battler's doing, and I'm like, oh, Jesus. What a terrible system. It's not very good.
Yeah, none of that sounds interesting to me. Like, it just...
But the reward cell.
Like, if we compare it to Snap again, for the last time, I enjoy getting a good deck that works, but I don't want to do it multiple times, right? Like, I have, like, 3 decks that I've built, realistically, that I've used properly in Marvel Snap. It's 2 years it's been out, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the 2 years it's been out, I have a lot more decks than that, but I don't use most of them, and most of them are just, like, copied from the internet, and I didn't find that interesting. I don't enjoy going, like, regularly, let me figure out a new deck with this strategy. I don't know. I'm enjoying Snap still. Because, I'm still really bad this season for some reason. I've still not even hit 80, but maybe one day. I'm up to 79 now, so maybe I'll finally get to 80 this season.
I feel like I bounced off Snap as soon as Pocket came out. Like, it's just, and I think I've just enjoyed not having the pressure to log in and do dailies that take so much time. Oh, because that's the other thing I enjoy about Pocket, is the fact that you can complete your dailies without having to do a battle.
Oh, yeah. There are so many things you can do to do the dailies, right? The dailies is like three or four. Is it 4? I think 4 dailies you have to do, but there's like 8 options or something like that. So yeah, like, you log on, that's one of them. You open a pack, that's another one. You do a wonder pick, that's another one. And then you open a second pack, or you do a battle, or you do another wonder pick, or there's something else. I can't remember what it was. And that's it. You've done all you need to do.
Yeah. What are you playing in Marvel Snap this season?
I'm still on the Symbiote Black Panther deck. I've changed a couple of things around, because obviously they made it more difficult to do that one, because Black Panther's now 5 power, so you can Shang-Chi it before you combine it with Symbiote. So I've done a couple of things to try and improve that. I've added in Agent Venom, so I've tried to, if I don't have Black Panther out, I'll play an Agent Venom to put it down to 4 power. I have Mr. Negative, who has been useful in some cases, where he obviously is not helpful for Black Panther because he just switches 5 with 5, but has allowed me to do other things, like obviously Arnhem then becomes a 0 cost 6 power card. I have what's her name?
Jane. Are you playing Jane Foster?
I am not. No.
I'll send you my list now.
What's her name? Why can't I remember her name? Oh, dreadful.
What's she do?
Ironheart.
Ah, yes. Yes.
Got there. Ironheart obviously is in a 0 cost 3 power. Yeah, I think if the person I'm playing doesn't have Shang-Chi, then most of the time I'll win. But I just feel like a lot of people have Shang-Chi just now. And that's annoying.
Yeah, and it's probably only going to increase, because I think the next season pass card is like a chunkster as well.
All right. Yeah. So we'll see. I'll keep going. Hopefully, I'll get there. I don't think I'll get to infinite, but I'm hoping to at least get into the 80.
Well, good luck. It's always frustrating when you can't quite find a deck that's like working for the climb in Marvel Snap.
Yeah, but I've not been going down, so that's something. One way of thinking about it. Yeah, I think that's what I've been playing as well, just Pocket and Marvel Snap, but we've been playing Pocket very differently.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's what we've been up to. Our new section we're going to get into, which is the recent releases section. We're not going to do this every episode because there's not a game release every week, although sometimes it is.
Are you sure about that?
But we've got about 2 months worth of game releases that I noticed in my list when I was updating it. I thought let's talk about them because I thought it might be useful for people if they have heard about a game that we've talked about, but they've not managed to actually play it, and they had forgot about it or whatever. Like, I'm sure people hear about it and then they go, oh, I want to play that game, but they never actually do anything about it because it's not out at that point. They've not gone and wishlisted it or whatever. So we're just going to mention these. We're not going to talk a huge amount about them, just a little bit. We're probably not going to give much opinion about it because we've not played, I think, any of these games. You've not played any of these games, have you?
No, I have not.
No. So we probably don't have enough to have proper opinions on them. It's probably enough nonsense to talk about. So yeah, we've got the first one is Mellowbot: A Last Song, which was the game where you're a little robot going around and trying to heal plants of some evil thing. And that one is out now, if you were interested in that one. We have Garden Witch Life, which probably don't need to explain. Garden Witch Life. There you go, done. Amber Isle. A reminder though, the Switch version of this was delayed. I think it's coming out this month, but it is out on Steam if you were wanting that. Orange Season, finally out of early access. How long was it in early access for? A long time. 2017. April 2017 was when it started in early access. And it even changed name in that time. The Last Farmer, which is the
least cozy game that you've ever mentioned on this show.
Is this less cozy than Pumpkin Panic?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. And the newest one, which only came out on Friday, if you're listening to this less than a week ago. If you're listening to this on release day, it was less than a week ago. Is Farmagia, the new marvelous It's Not Rune Factory Honestly game.
Of all of these, the one that I'm most looking at is Mellowbot. I've just I think over the past sort of year or so, I've found enjoying more structured games, with a narrative. Kev and I covered, was it Kev and I who covered Mushi Comes Home, whatever that game was called, the one where you're the mushroom that goes around and adventures Smooshy, there we go. And Mellowbot has similar-ish vibes to it, so that's the one that's sort of standing out to me on this list.
It was you and Kevin. Yeah, I agree. I'm also kind of interested in trying Farmagia, just because I want to see how it actually feels playing. Having seen gameplay of it since it's released, I'm less interested in it now, but I'm still keeping my options open. I'm not going to buy it at full price. 50 quid's a lot for a game I'm not sure if I'm going to enjoy.
Yeah, it seems like a expensive game.
Yeah. Well, it's by Marvelous, so they don't do indie cost games. All right, well, next we've got the news. We've got the big news, Johnny. We finally got information about Animal Crossing Pocket Camp Complete.
Yeah.
Before we get into the news about this, how are you feeling about this?
Conflicted. Because it seems really good. Okay. And I'm not sure if I want to get back into Animal Crossing Pocket Camp.
Did you play Pocket Camp?
Yeah, I played it when it first came out, maybe for a couple of months. And, I enjoyed it for what it was. But, it was a mobile game with microtransaction sort of problems. And that was a bit of a off-putting feature to me. And I kind of eventually just got sick of it and deleted it. But, It's
Well,
Animal
I got
Crossing.
news for you.
Yeah.
There are no micro payment. What was it?
Microtransactions.
Microtransactions. I was like, micropayments? It's not the what's the term that we use? Yes, there are no microtransactions in the new version, Pocket Count Complete. So we knew that it was coming out. I think we knew it was coming in December. But we now know it's coming on the 3rd of December. That is 6 days after Pocket Camp goes down. Which I initially thought, that's weird. Why have they got it so close to it going down, but not like straight after? But then, of course, I realised that they'll probably want some time between Pocket Camp going down and people starting to transfer their save data in to make sure that the save data transferring server is working fine with all the latest, because like people will be able to change things in their save data up till the second that the game goes down, and so that will probably take a long time to back up that data and make sure that it's all right before the transferring starts.
Yeah, and just smart to give yourself a couple of days to be like, who knows what could go wrong.
Exactly. So it's the Thursday, the 28th of November, it goes down, and then Tuesday, the 3rd, the new game launches. Its base price will be $20 but until the end of January, it will be half price. So that's cool. I like that. I suspect that means, 99% of people will buy it at half price.
I imagine so. Like, it feels like it's more like it's the normal price is $10 unless you decide to get in late, and then you get the dum tax of an additional $10.
Yeah, you weren't paying attention tax. So confirmation that it adds almost all past items. They have said, little asterisk, some events and items will not be available, but they haven't said what.
I think a lot of it said may not be available.
Oh, that's true. It did say may not. So I wonder what's happening there. Like how.
I just wonder if it's kind of
of something.
It could be licensing, or I was just wondering if it's kind of like cover because maybe there was some random item that was in, very briefly, but like didn't actually do anything, and that's like, games just develop weird things that like not everything's going to transfer, and someone's like, I managed to get my hands on an item that is like spoiled food that's not in the game. Why isn't that transferred over? And they're like, we said some items may not. Go away.
Yeah.
Please stop pricing it.
From an event 7 years ago that actually breaks the game.
Yes. Yeah. So. My reading of it is all of the items you would actually want will be in the game.
Yeah. So they've announced that all of the previous events will come back in a 4-year cycle.
This is the thing that like terrifies me about this game.
Well, the good thing is that there will be a new currency called Leaf Tickets, which will allow you to buy items outside of their events and seasons. How we get those Leaf Tickets, I do not know.
My assumption, and this is entirely speculation, is that where you used to generate the Leaf Tickets, which are no longer in the game, they were the paid currency, you will now generate...
It's called something else. Leaf
Yeah, you will now generate this instead and be able to use it that way.
I can't find the name initially, but yeah, I think they were a coin, the one in non. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. And they've announced that there will be new events that will all happen by the end of September 2025. So as part of the 4-year cycle of events, there will be new events, but they're all in the first year.
Sorry, I found the answer. So they were called Leaf Tickets. They're now called Complete Tickets. And you get them from working in events. So yeah, I assume it's just the sort of direct... Like, it's basically just replacing the paid currency with an unpaid one. And now that unpaid one is used to purchase stuff that you may have missed.
I thought the new one was called Leaf Tokens.
Leaf Tokens, yes.
Leaf Tokens. And the old one was Leaf Ticket.
Yes.
I will also say I suspect that this will be time travel-able, all of these events, because I don't think there's going to be any real... There's not going to be any online other than the transferring based on what I can.
What about the Whistle Pass, where you can see your friends? How does that work?
So the friends stuff, as far as I can tell, is just your data is encoded in a QR code, which the game then interprets as your character.
That's yes, that looks like
internet.
Yep, that looks like you are correct.
So I don't think the game will connect to the internet at all.
Makes sense.
Except the initial transfer. So I suspect if you change your calendar, you'll be able to get whatever event you want. So if you really care about a specific event and you've missed it, or you don't want to wait 4 years, you could probably do that. But we'll find out when it launches.
I mean, this is just very hard to criticize, right? Like, it just looks so good.
I have something to criticize it. So I need to double check. I need to find out when this launches what the case is with this. But they have a note on the press release that says, please note that if you delete the app, save data will also be deleted. The save data is entirely saved on your device. And I understand that from a sake of they're saying it's a game, it's a local game, it's not on the line. On the line? It's not online, so we can't save your data to our cloud. However, especially on Apple devices, they have cloud save. And if they've turned off cloud save, which is an active thing they have to do, I will be very annoyed. Just saying. Like, you don't need to create your own server and make sure that you keep our accounts data up to date. I don't care about that. But Apple has a way for you to do cloud save. Please do that so I can play it across multiple devices.
So you have a hypothetical criticism because we don't know the answer yet.
Well, no, they've said if you delete the app, save data will also be deleted. That would not be the case if they used cloud save.
Yeah, but Nintendo doesn't know how the internet works, Al. That's not definitive enough. Any other company, I would agree, but Nintendo doesn't know.
Well, this is the thing. I am not going to say that I am 100% sure that means they don't have cloud save, but it definitely makes it feel like they don't have cloud. Anyway, we'll find out. I'll definitely be buying this game.
Yeah, I think I will buy it as well because, like, I don't want to pay the sucker tax if it turns out that I do want to play it. So, yeah, I mean, it looks good.
Well, and if nothing else, if I'm never going to play this, I at least want to encourage them doing this again. So I'm going to give them the money to say, yes, this was worth doing. Please do it for future apps, please.
Yeah. The one thing I'm curious about, and you and I won't be able to answer is, but I'm curious if anyone has been playing Animal Crossing Pocket Camp this whole time, how they feel about now having to pay to keep playing. Because, you know, it's nice from yours and mine perspective where we've put no time, effort, or money into this game in the last 4 or 5 years, and now there is a thing that you can purchase that is a complete experience. I do wonder if someone who has been playing the full time feels like maybe there should have been some way to, you know, earn it for free if you've been actively playing for the last couple of years or something like that. Like, I just am a little bit curious about that side.
Yeah, I would understand that. I do think that if you've been putting in loads of money into the game, probably $10 is not much for you. If you're someone who's not been plowing lots of money into it, you're probably quite happy with paying to not have to deal with that. I don't know. Maybe I'm assuming a lot of things. We may never know.
We may never know. But listeners, if you are one of those people, get in contact. Visit howaseason.club. There's a little form right there on the page.
Yes. I think... Oh, yes, just two... I was going to talk about the Friends feature, so I kind of talked about that, but basically there is a new Friends feature. If you have friends currently in the game, when you do your save transfer, those friends cards, assuming that both you and they have logged into the game since the update was released like 2 days ago, if you've done that, you will get their camper card automatically. If you haven't, then you'll have to scan their QR code to get it. I think the camper card thing is cool. The fact that you can because they didn't need to do that, right? They could have just not had any friends features in it. But the fact that they've built in a new feature to have your friends' camper cards and even be able to see their characters in a specific place in the game, I feel like goes above and beyond.
Yeah, I think that's how a lot of this feels like. yes, they are creating a new product that they are hoping to sell and make money off of, but they could have done a much lazier job of this and probably sold it for the same price and probably sold a very similar amount. But this feels more like they want people to have a really good experience with this and have been very intentional about how this has been designed as an experience to continue on from the online mobile sort of experience.
For sure. And my final point was just, if you want to transfer your save data, make sure you've connected your Nintendo account before the servers go down. If you've been playing the game and you have it on your phone and you've been actively playing it, I suspect you've probably already connected your Nintendo account, because I think when they released that feature, there was bonuses and stuff like that. And if you haven't been actively playing the game, you either have already connected it and that's fine, or you don't have your save data anymore, because I think you can only get it on multiple devices if you connected your Nintendo account. But just saying, if you are one of the people that's been actively playing it and you have it on your phone and you haven't connected your Nintendo account, you need to go do that before the 28th of November. Go do it now. All right. I think that's everything. There is a 12-minute video if you want to watch it to get more information, but I feel like I've pulled out all the stuff that actually matters. But it'll be in the show notes as well, the link. Next, we have Sunhaven have released a new update, 1.7, which doesn't really feel like much of an update, and I'm not sure why they're calling it 1.7, but it is what it is. They have released a bunch of new items, and get this, 25 new DLCs.
This game is just like a DLC machine.
Yeah. 25 is wild to just come out all at once.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I don't know what to say. They're now up to 30 DLCs. So they only had 4 before this.
Crazy. Like every time I see Sunhaven, it's kind of fallen into the category of games I feel like I would like to play, but I just realistically do not see myself ever having the time to play it, because this game looks big and very in-depth. And
yeah,
like I would love to have the time to play through this, because I think the game looks awesome, but realistically, I am probably not.
Most of the comments on Steam are just complaining about how many DLCs. 25 new DLCs, huh? That's like Christmas for the developers.
To be fair, they're all relatively cheap. You know, they're a couple of dollars for new furniture. So, like, to me, this is the good side of DLC. You know, if you want to do a certain theme, you can buy some extra furniture and skins, and I think they do mounts and stuff in most of them. And if you don't, it's not like you're really missing out on anything. Like, I don't know, this is to me is a very good way of doing DLC. I mean, 25 is a lot. It's kind of crazy, but, you know, good on them.
Yeah, I agree. I don't actually have an issue with the DLC. I think the main issue people have is that they're releasing DLCs while still not releasing the Switch version, which that's not how this works. The same people aren't doing those two things. I just understand their frustration with what's the word I'm looking for? How they're framing it, right? And they're still not really talking about the Switch version. They are continuing to say that they're not going to release another major update until the Switch version is out. Great. But they did call this 1.7, which is what they've been doing with all their other major updates. Feels a little bit disingenuous to be like, oh, no more major updates. Oh, but here's an update 1.7. Which doesn't have anything major in it, so that's what makes it not a major update.
Interestingly, on the Steam page, there is a type field, and under type, this is labeled major update. So, but I feel like a number of games have increasingly been going silent on Switch ports for games, and it just feels like, you know, the Switch is at the end of its life cycle. A lot of games with, you know, more financially strong backing are struggling to produce games that run on Switch, and I just wonder if a lot of these studios are struggling to get their games running on Switch. And when I look at something like Sunhaven and what that's trying to do, I just imagine it's tough to port in a way that is actually makes the game workable at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, I've said for a long time that I don't think any Kickstarter should promise any consoles at all. Like, I just think there's no positive to that. I think you could say, we hope to do this, but do not allow people to back based on that, and do not make it a stretch goal, because you will come across problems. If you are not a console developer, you do not know what it is like to port to console. You do not know if you're going to have to do it yourself. You don't know if you're going to be able to find someone else to do it. You don't know if they're going to be, shut down randomly while you're doing it, looking at you, Humble Games. Like, there are just so many possibilities. The only thing you as a developer have under control is the stuff that you are doing, which is probably just the Steam game.
Yep. I agree.
Like, is there any game recently that has come out on everything that it said and has had no issues and nobody's complained about how long it's taking? Even Stardew gets complaints about how long it takes for the updates to come to console. Do you think you're going to do better than Stardew?
Yes. I always assume I'm going to. Did Mika came out on everything at the same time, right?
Nope.
Did it not?
Nope. Don't think it's out on Xbox yet.
Oh, that doesn't count. Real consoles, Al.
I think it just came out on Steam and Switch at the same time, but they had to delay for the Switch version, and they decided to delay everything, which I do think is probably the sensible way to do it, but only works if it's a short-term delay. You don't want to delay for years. Like, imagine if Coral Island had delayed until their Switch version was out. They'd still not be out.
Yes.
Which one could argue would be a good thing. I wouldn't argue that, but one could.
I will also not argue that.
Good. I'm glad we're agreed. Anyway, that was a long time for such a small update. Next, we have Slime Rancher 2 have announced their next update, Into the Labyrinth. It is coming December 12th this year, and we don't know anything about it other than players will finally be able to enter the Grey Labyrinth and begin to unveil the mysteries of Rainbow Island. There you go, Jonnie. You will finally be able to enter the Grey Labyrinth. Just what you've
finally. Yep, I've been hanging out to do whatever that is and learn about the thing. Yep, cool.
The mysteries of Rainbow Island. I'm sure for people who are playing this game, they're excited to finally be able to enter the Grey Labyrinth. It's very funny when when an update is like that. Very funny wording. Next, we have an exciting update for Go-Go Town. Are you excited about this, Jonnie? The Dinkum Go-Go Town crossover.
I mean, it's hard to not be excited. And, I haven't loved my time with Go-Go Town, but, I mean, you can ride a wallaby. And, calling it the Dinkum update. I guess Dinkum, Australian word, so it's Australian update. And...
Oh, as much as that, Dinkum is also an Australian another game.
Is it a game?
It's a game, so it's a crossover.
I had not heard of this game. I just assumed it was we're just putting a bunch of Australian nonsense into Go-Go Town.
They're both Australian games by Australian. So I think that's the idea. And Dinkum, so it's kind of like Minecraft, but farming is probably a simple way of putting it. But they obviously have a lot of Australian animals in it. Hence the wallaby.
Great.
So yeah, if you were waiting for the ability to ride a wallaby, or what is that? What is that? It's a bear of some kind? What's the bear in the bottom of this?
That's the wallaby.
That's not a wallaby.
Surely that's a wallaby. Maybe it's a quokka?
A what?
Quokka. Yeah. Quokka.
Oh, it might be that, yeah. Yeah, it looks more like that. It definitely looks like a... Is this a rodent, quokka? It definitely looks like a large rodent rather than a...
It could be a bill. No, it's not a bilby. It doesn't have the right nose. We'll go with quokka.
It looks... Yeah, I'd go with quokka. It's definitely... If it's a wallaby, it's a very badly designed wallaby.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people poorly design a lot of things, but...
Yeah. It's cool. I feel like... I think this game is going to pull me back in eventually after there's 6 updates or something like that, and there's enough more content for me to want to get back into.
Yeah, I feel the same. This is a game that I will check in on every once in a while to see, does it have enough for me to actually be interested?
And finally, we have the first update for Mika and the Witch's Mountain is now out. We have a bit more information about the minigames. So one of them, the Churro Express minigame, you are helping deliver churros. And the Save the Kitties minigame, can you guess what this is?
You're going to put kittens up really high for other people to then have to save.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a new pet companion. I don't know what the point of this is. One of the first rewards you've earned is the companion, Edgar the Crow, who will now fly with you every time you get on your broom. That's all it says. Does he do anything or just fly around with you? And so is it just a cosmetic?
I hope there is nothing that indicates that this actually is what happens, is that Edgar might start to point out secrets or collectibles. That would be a really nice thing for them to do. And I feel like it must do something because it says you have to have a keychain equipped for Edgar to appear. So presumably that means there is some feature attached to it. But I would really like it if he was pointing out collectibles because I still have a few to get in the game and I don't want to look them up. And it would be really nice if there was a little in-game hint system. And I think this would be a cool way of doing it.
Yeah, I agree. That would be. Again, Jonnie's just making this up. We don't know that this is the case. There's nothing that suggests it's the case. This is just we would like that, please.
Yes.
All right. That's all of the game news. We also have one new game to talk about, and that is now. How do you think this is pronounced? Dolok Town?
Yeah, I would say Dolok Town. Yeah.
Dolok. Or Dolok. Let's go with Dolok Town. Dolok Town is a cozy pixel art farm simulation game set in a post-apocalyptic world. Is your bingo card full yet? Build your dream farm from scratch and explore this mysterious wasteland. Harvest, plant, build and battle against ferocious creatures while discovering the untold stories of this forgotten land. Did it capture your interest, Jonnie?
No. Which... I don't want to sound down on it, but this is just not the style of game that appeals to me particularly. I think this game will appeal to a lot of people. I am just not one of those people. It has a very strong sort of 2D platformer adventure look from the gameplay. The town building does feel reminiscent of the way that you kind of build up the boat in Spiritfarer with things stacked on top of each other, and that side I do quite like the look of. It's more just the sort of core gameplay adventure loop it's just not really my sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm quite interested in this one. As you say, the building feels very Spiritfarer, and I really like how they did that in Spiritfarer, and so doing more of that I think would be really fun. It definitely seems more farming focused than that, whereas Spiritfarer was here is your one farming block. This is much more here's a bunch of area you can use for farming, which I like how it's 2D, but they still allow you to have quite a lot of area for farming. Building up that I think is really clever.
Yeah, I agree.
Like the graphics. It's pixel art, but it feels it doesn't feel like it's just trying to be Stardew.
It does have a very distinct style. I agree. I think this art style is really cool and innovative, it's very hard, I think, to do something different in pixel art in 2024, but this is doing it for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this one. We don't have any release date announced. As far as I can see, it's just planned for Steam. There is a Steam page with a bunch of information on it.
And a demo.
Oh, should have. Wish we'd known before I'd played my other demo and I could have played this one instead. Not that says anything bad about the demo. Yeah, no, this is definitely on my... I've added it to my wish list and I'll keep an eye on it. All right, I think that's all the news. Woo.
Woo.
What does dinkum mean?
So you say fair dinkum, which is just I was going to say, it's kind of just saying fair... I don't know.
Don't you just love trying to explain slang?
Yeah.
It's the best.
Look, I'm now trying to Google, the definition so I can provide something that's...
Genuine, honest, true.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Although the search result that I got was saying it's Australian and New Zealand. It's definitely not a New Zealand slang term. It is just an Australian slang term.
Well, interestingly, my web search is trying to imply that it's English.
Well, that's definitely wrong.
Claims that it's possibly from Lincolnshire. Okay.
Interesting.
But that is a different... So that their definition is doing one's fair share of work, which feels...
that I can see that as an origin, but that is not how it would be used.
Yeah, it feels similar enough that they could be related, but not... You wouldn't use it in that context.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Let's talk about some demos. So, Jonnie has played the Luma Island demo, and I have played the Overthrown demo, both on Steam Next. And I thought we could talk about that, because we did that in the last Next Fest. Was that in May or something?
Yes.
Or maybe earlier than that. And you played Lightyear Frontier?
I did.
And Jonnie played Southfield.
Correct.
Is that correct? Cool.
Yeah.
So, we're going to do a similar thing. Do you want to talk about Luma Island first?
Let's talk about Luma Island. So, Luma Island feels Stardew-esque in the sort of core gameplay loop. Where it is different is it is 3D and it has a movable camera, which confused me for the first 2 days because I didn't realize the camera was movable, because that's just how my brain works.
Why is that not the first thing you do? The first thing I do in any game is see if I can move the camera.
But I'm so used to it now that you can't move the camera that it didn't even occur to me to do it until I changed zones and I came back and I was like, where am I? And I realized I was on my farm, but the camera was facing a different direction. That was how I found out I could turn the camera.
Oh dear.
Yes, which would have made it a lot easier if I had realized that sooner. So I really like what I played of the demo, and the demo was 5 days, and I probably wasted a lot of those 5 days, so I didn't get to experience everything that I think was in the demo. But
I think that's pretty standard for demos, is not being able to access everything with one playthrough.
Yes. What I really liked that this game was doing, one, the onboarding experience was very good, which I normally don't expect in demos, but it had a really nice cadence of, like, the quests were telling you to do, it started off very specific things, walking you through all of the steps that you needed to do in order to craft something and build it, and then they sort of were progressing to, the next quest is you've got the chain of actions and we've taken you through how to do them all, so the next quest is just, here's the end result you need to get to. And it was a really sort of nice onboarding experience. But the thing that really sort of stood out to me is early on in the game, you go to the town hall to get a permit to, basically start making money. And there were, I think, 5 different professions. There was cook, brewer, like a crafter, artifact one, and I'm forgetting the 5th one now. But the purpose of the professions is they were sort of difficulty. So there was a difficulty associated with each of them, which I really liked. And I assume the difficulty was more attached to, like, how hard it was going to be to make money and progress, rather than, like, combat difficulty or anything like that. And yeah, it kind of just, to me, this game has the vibe of, yes, it has its roots in the games that we love that have caused us to, be on or listening to a show like this one, but it was doing enough that was different that feels like, yes, this is a game I would really like to play more of and see more of, because it's doing enough things that feel different, right? And so the profession I picked was the brewer, because it was like, I was like, yes, this is interesting, because this is like a thing that exists in a lot of games, and that you can ferment your crops in a keg, but usually that's about as far as it goes. And this was very much like, for the brewing, it was, you had to harvest some crops, you had the keg, but you also had to make the glass bottles for things to go in. And it just all made sense, and like it just had a really good feeling to it. So yeah, I was a really big fan of my time with this demo.
Okay. My thoughts about this game when I see it are that I really like how it looks, except the character models. How does it feel to you when you're playing it graphically?
Fine. I would say yeah, like I'm not big on the character models either, but I don't know that that was something that I really thought about that much in my time playing the game. And one of the things that I think, and I've just been sort of looking through the Steam page as I've been talking to remind myself of things, is a lot of what they seem to show online is, you know, like going towards playing in multiplayer where there's a lot of the character models on the screen. And when you're playing by yourself, I think that's a lot less obvious and a lot less present. I will say, though, the one thing I didn't do was the more adventuring side of the game with the dungeons and some of those sorts of things that I didn't get a chance to do. And so that might feel slightly different because that is very much about where your character is and what they are doing. I was more doing the farming and mining and actually this is just another thing that I liked. So there was a mine on your farm that is just a mine. Like I get the sense that the monster fighting and the mine are separate areas.
Interesting.
Which again, I am a fan of because I think combat in these games can be very hit or miss, and I get frustrated with the idea that often in order to do the mining, which is always a critical component of these games, you then have to do the combat, which not everyone wants to do. So I would be a big fan if all of the mining you could do without engaging any of the combat side.
Yeah, interesting. So it definitely feels, how you're describing it, like it is basically a good 3D Stardew-like, and it's doing some things different, but it's not trying to completely reinvent the wheel. Is that fair?
Yeah, it very fair. The one other thing I will say, which I think it will change for a lot of people how they feel about the game, is that to me, the area by where your house is very hilly, and you know, one of the things that I think is often appealing is you've usually got your farm with a big sort of flat area where you can do what you want. So I don't know that this will be a great game if you're into designing farms. This probably doesn't feel like that sort of game. Like you'll be able to do some, right? Because you still build stuff and put things down, but nothing like some of the, you know, beautiful farms that you see in something like a Coral Island or a Stardew Valley.
It's probably harder to, even if you could do that, it would be harder to show off in a 3D game anyway, right? Because on 2D games, you just you zoom out and you got a screenshot, right? And they quite often even have a feature designed to do the full zoom out to take the picture of it all. Whereas on 3D, it's much more focused on the, you know, more curated areas. It's harder to do that in 3D than it is in 2D.
Yes, I agree. So yeah, trying to think of anything else that really stood out to me about this game. There was something interesting that was going on where you would do, like, you know, chopping a tree and you would get nature essence or something like that. So there was definitely hints at like something more going on in relation to the island and things to explore that seemed, again, interesting, and like they were trying to do something different. It wasn't clear like were these essences like that. I assume they were probably just another form of currency or something like that, but there was it felt like there was a decent amount going on in this game, and it comes out relatively soon, and like this demo made me really excited to play this game.
Okay. Yeah, I think it comes out on the 20th of November, I think.
21st it's saying for me, but that may be time zones.
So close. Yeah, that's almost certainly a time zone thing. Okay, interesting. I feel like I would expect that you're bored of Stardew Legs by now.
I am. Actually, so I'm really pleased you said that, because it reminded me of when I was done with the demo, how I felt was like I have been very bored of Stardew Likes, and I was not bored of this one. And like I've tried in the past year, I tried Roots of Pacha and a couple of others where it just felt like you're kind of going through the same start for every game. This game did not give me that vibe at all, and I think because the onboarding was pushing much more towards your profession, in the time I was playing, I never got a quest that was to go and talk to 10,000 villagers and do a bunch of boring nonsense that I don't really want to do. Like, I feel like this game really was, like, encouraging me to, one, explore the profession that you've picked, but two, kind of just do what you want to do. I'm not sure if there are any social mechanics in the game. The impression I got is that there's not, which I'm totally fine with. Like, I just, like, this game does not have the vibe of, like, yeah, we are building this game around strong characters and doing romance, and, like, I'm kind of hoping it's not in the game because it just didn't feel necessary or needed. Like, this is a game that feels more about doing farming, exploring, you know, like picking a profession and really sort of following that through. Like, this game feels much more about you and your adventure in relation to the island, not in relation to the other characters on the island.
Okay.
Which I think was part of what was appealing to me, because I'm very bored with, you know, just romancing random NPCs, because that's part of the game, and even though they have, you know, all bland sort of stereotypical personalities.
Yes. As an aside, I'm not going to put this into the podcast because it's apparently still meant to be secret, but they are about to announce that the reason that they've delayed Sugar Dew Island is because of adding romance into.
Oh my god. No.
They added it to Kickstarter, but they're like, we're not announcing it for 2 weeks. And I'm like, why are you announcing it here then? Fine, I'm not going to talk about it on the podcast till it's officially public, just because it's easier. But
yeah,
it's literally, they're saying we're doing this because of romance. Their grant allowed them the money to add romance in, and I'm like, no, really?
Gross.
So stupid.
That is so stupid.
Okay, so any last thoughts about this demo, and what should be people's one takeaway about it?
My last thought about the demo is, I think if anything I've said has interested you, like, download it and give the demo a go. This game comes out soon, and I think it will appeal to a lot of people, particularly if you've found a lot of stuff lately hasn't been quite hitting the mark for you. I think this is doing something different enough. And then there was a second question, and I talked too long that I forgot what your second question was, Al.
What's the one takeaway they should take about this game? They should have.
I think for me the takeaway is about the professions. You know, one of the things that I really enjoyed listening to in the early days of the harvest season was when you would do the challenge episodes around, you know, we're going to do Stardew but animal farming, or there was the mining challenge, you know, some of those sorts of things I really enjoyed. And what I liked about this is, like, kind of just having that direction of, oh, I'm going to do a playthrough, and this time I'm going to be a brewer, or this time I'm going to be a chef, to kind of push you to maybe do some of those. Like I am interested in doing a playthrough as a cook, because I often don't engage with the cooking mechanics much in these games, because cooking food just doesn't do that much. But that being your profession totally changes that narrative. So that is the thing that really sort of just was like, this is something that I didn't know I wanted in these sorts of games.
Yeah, no, you're right. That does sound very interesting.
And sorry, I've just looked in the Steam page. So there was only 5 professions I recall seeing in the demo, but the Steam page says pick from 7 unique in-depth professions. So,
well, you don't expect them to put everything in the demo.
No. But just to, yeah, so, and like 7 feels like the right amount, because I'm assuming there'll be like a fishing, you know, you'll be able to be a fisherman for one of them, and probably a few other things. So, yeah, a really big fan of what this demo showed, and very excited to give this a go.
Interesting.
So what did you try?
So I tried Let me just double check the name because I keep calling it the wrong thing. I tried Overthrown. So this is you are uh you find a magic relic that gives you powers basically, and you're building a town. Bringing people into your town to help you fight other bandits and animals and stuff like that. That's the basic idea. The thing that really drew me to this game is how very much like Southfield, how different it feels to play physics wise and just like general, right? You're not just kind of walking around and occasionally jumping at most. You are running, and you can run like so fast you run across water. You can, jump up cliffs. You are grabbing things and throwing them. One of the things that I really like is, so you have a sawmill for making planks from trees, and you can either cut down a tree and throw it at the sawmill, or you can pick up the sawmill and throw it at the trees and it'll do the exact same thing. And I just really like that silliness to it, and the playfulness of, we're just going to do weird stuff. I will say that part of it felt great. The movement, I feel like there's a little bit of tweaking they need to do, especially for like controllers, because obviously I was playing this on my Steam Deck. But in general, the movement, the fluidity of that felt pretty great. I really liked it. The demo felt pretty bare bones, and it felt kind of more like a tech demo than anything else. So it's hard to know how this would feel as a full game. Like, what is your end goal and how do you stay interested? Because obviously there is a bit of a thing with some games in their uniqueness is it's just a gimmick. And I feel like this could either end up being just a bunch of gimmicks smooshed together, or it could feel like a really nice, fulfilling game. I like how they separate your standard moving around and interacting with the world, and the building. There's like a build menu, and that you kind of choose something, and then you're still moving around, but you are moving around in a slightly different way. Like, you're not kind of like running around in that area, but it's not the only time you can move things. Like, if you're not in the build menu, you can still go up and pick up a building, and that's how you do the weirdness with the moving buildings around and throwing them at trees, or simple things like if you've got a bandit who comes to try and get stuff, you can pick up a building and throw it at them, for example, and kill them like that. I really like that sort of stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately you didn't answer, or you answered, but not in the way I was hoping, the one question that I had about this game, because, it has very strong Minecraft vibes to the game, and my question for this has been, what is the gameplay loop? What is the, narrative? Because the vibe that it's giving off is very much like, no, you just build stuff for the sake of building it, and it's silly, which, for me would not be enough. It's almost like, it very much at the moment to me has the vibe of like a game that I would happily have on like a second screen while I'm playing something else. So I'm watching someone play this game, but I'm not sure I'm seeing like a strong desire to actually play it myself.
Yeah. It definitely feels like a city builder rather than it doesn't feel like there's a huge amount of narrative, and it might just be that they're saving that for the game. But it doesn't feel like that kind of really exists. And maybe it will at some point. But yeah, I don't know. It's difficult to know. I love how it feels to play so much that I'm not willing to ignore anything else, but hard to explain what I'm thinking.
Is this the sort of game where there are some games where there's like almost a joy of movement, and it's just a fun world to be in and to explore, and sometimes that can be enough for a game? Is that like, would you say that's how your time?
kind of. In so much as, like, I've definitely had fun in my playing of the game and in that movement. The movement is definitely enough to have fun. But I guess the question is, how long can you have that fun?
Yep. And like I imagine a certain amount of that comes down to how many of these silly interactions are there. Like the idea of throwing the sawmill at the trees is a very good one, right? It's a very funny idea, a very good idea. And as we've been talking, I opened the Steam page where they've got the developer playing the game, and the thing that is standing out to me the most is there is literally just trees. So I'm curious, how deep do those silly things go? Because if they kind of really lean into that side of the game and the mechanics, you can imagine lots of weird combinations of stuff where there could be that kind of constant sense of discovery that would be awesome to keep going through, right? So did you, other than throwing sawmills at trees, did you come across other biomes or other sort of fun interactions?
I think the simple answer is probably no to that. It feels like, as I said, it feels more like a tech demo than a game demo. And I feel like there could be more like that eventually, but I don't feel like it's ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much of this is it's a demo, therefore they didn't put everything in, and how much of it is they just don't have the other stuff. It's difficult to know.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep my eye on this no matter what, right? Like the movement is, I feel with the movement like I felt with Fae Farm, where there's something here and it may not be enough for me to, it's definitely not going to be enough for me to plow 100 hours into a game, but there's something here that I would like in general. And there's maybe something that people could learn from this in other games as well.
Yeah, even things like with the sword, you can do like a super jump, almost, right? Like,
Yeah, it's like a helicopter jump.
yeah. I think those sorts of things seem good, and yeah, movement in the sorts of games we like to play has been pretty bad or basic for a long time. So I feel like even if nothing else, this game could produce some cool ideas that could hopefully make their way into other games.
Yeah, it's not even just farming games, right? Like games in
Correct.
general, movement has stayed pretty static for 10 years, right? Like, not to say that the other games are bad in their movement, but they've not really tried to do a huge amount different.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's a lot happening here, and I'm hopeful for this. But it's definitely not the same as your experience with Luma, where it's this feels like a deliberately limited demo of a really great game that's coming out soon. Instead, this feels like a really interesting tech demo that could lead to a really detailed and deep game, but also might not.
Do we have any indication on when Overthrown is planning on coming out?
So they've said 2014.
2014. Wow, time travel.
Sorry, 2024. But I presume that's for early access because they've said it's going to be early access, and I feel like that's probably deliberate. So it'll be interesting to see whether the early access game is just the demo but slightly further on, or whether it would make it clear that the demo was less than the early access game and just a demo of how the game might feel in certain situations.
So based on what you played of this game, and let's just assume no early access, what release date would you hope to hear that would be? Yeah, that's an exciting release date because it means that they are hopefully taking the time to flesh this out into the game. I think it could be.
Yeah, I feel like that's 2026.
Yeah.
Which would be feasible for a game coming out in early access this year to be like, because they have the core stuff down, right? Like they have the interesting idea, they have the movement down, they have me hooked on that idea, but now they need to have a reason to keep playing it past the first day. And a year and a half to 2 years, I suspect, would be enough time for that. because that's much easier than creating the very core concept. Well, not easier, it's faster, right? To create quests and create storylines. It's faster to do that than to create physics in a game.
Yes.
I'm also there feels like there's a lot of polish needed on this game as well. Like the menus feel a little bit flaky, and as I said, the controller support is there. They've done the thing that I keep telling developers to do, which is build in controller support from the start. So if you play it on the Steam Deck, it will show you the right things. But there's a few bits and pieces that feel like they're missing from controllers, and there's a few bits that definitely feel like they're more focused for a mouse. You can do everything with the Steam Deck, but it just feels a little bit janky.
Yeah,
I'm hopeful, but I want to see where they go with it.
Yeah, it sounds like some good bones, but it's really going to be... And what I really hope, and I don't know who the developers of this game are, but I'm hoping that they have sufficient runway to turn this into the game that it could be.
Yes. Yeah, I hope they're not going, oh, we need to get this released next year, or something like that, and it not be enough. They do seem to have done a couple games. So they've done one called Lance-A-Lot from 2016, and then they redid it in 2017. And they've got one called Bonsai Royale, which...
That's a great name. Okay.
A top-down online shooter where contestants scavenge the map for weapons. They definitely seem to have made games.
Oh, that is. I was expecting. Sorry. I thought you were saying like bonsai, as in bonsai tree royale, and I was like, is this just like trying to grow bonsai trees in a competitive?
Yeah, no, it's not that, but I think that's where they're using the same word deliberately, because the whole point of bonsai is like cutting it, right, in specific ways to shape it in a specific way. I suspect that's what they're doing here, is that it's focused on swords and focused on cutting people down. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it. Yeah, it's not their first game. They have successfully created games that have very positive reviews in the case of Lancelot, and positive reviews in the case of Bonsai. Oh, it's not Bonsai, it's Banzai Royale. God, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, but that's why we love you. Okay, I'll ask you the same question. What's the one thing that people should take away from the demo of Overthrown?
I think if you enjoy 3D action adventure games, but you feel like none of them are doing interesting things, this is the one that's at least trying to do something interesting. And even if it ends up failing, the industry as a whole could learn a lot. So I'd say at least go try the demo, because I feel like there's something.
Nice. I like that.
It'll be interesting to see what comes of this, either of these, because, Southfield got delayed, and I guess Lightyear Frontier are doing all right there.
Yeah, they're putting out stuff.
Keeping going. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me to talk about our October 2024 demos episode. See how many more we can get of this.
Look, I think it's always fun, and I kind of feel like in the last sort of couple of years, the return to demos, I much prefer demos to early access. And like the Luma Island one, like it did what a demo was supposed to do. It gave me a taste of the game. It got me excited, and now I'm gonna buy this game. And it was not even on my radar before Al suggested we do this episode. So like. Maybe that's the other thing to take away, is like demos are good. Early access is bad.
I'm not sure if that's my takeaway, but...
It's my takeaway, because Luma Island didn't do an early access. I'm liking these devs for Luma Island more and more. They just understand how things are supposed to work in the world.
You mean they agree with you?
Correct.
All right, well, on that note, thank you, Jonnie, for joining me.
Thanks, Al.
What do you want to tell people?
Look, as always, we love to hear from listeners, whether that's sending an email. I'll give the email address, I don't remember it. But there is a form on the website at harvestseason.club that you can use to give us feedback, ask a question, and if you want to provide a bit of extra support, patreon.com/thspod. You can join the Slack and talk about all of these games, talk about Pokemon Pocket, I guess, talk about Luma Island, because I'll be playing that when it comes out. Like, and it comes out at a really convenient time. I go on holiday for a bit over a week, and I come back, and then like 2 days later, Luma Island comes out. So, like, I mean, the devs just really nailed it. They really nailed it.
I don't think there is any convenient time for me for games coming out. It's just, everything is too busy all the time now.
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Where can people find you on the internet, Al?
People can find me as at the Scottbot on mastodon.scot. You can find the podcast on Tumblr as at thspod. You can, as Jonnie said, send us feedback from our website, harvestseason.club, where you will also find links to everything we talk about, and a link to our Patreon, as Jonnie mentioned. Yeah, I think that's everything. Oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't say, if you do come into the Slack, tell us what game you have been playing from the Next Fest, Steam Next Fest, because there's lots. So, what have you been playing, listener? All right. Thank you, Jonnie, again for joining me.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you, listeners, for listening. And until next time, have a
good harvest.
The Harvest Season is created by Al McKinley, with support from our patrons, including our pro farmers, Kevin, Stuart, and Elisa. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode.
I don't know how we managed to turn the friggin' Sunhaven nothingness into like a 15-minute conversation.